What is going on, everyone? This is episode 3 of Littleroot Lessons. As always, I'm your host, Carter Noble, joined by our fantastic co-host, Carl Wilkin. Carl, what's going on today, bud?
We are going to go over the top 8s from, if I remember right, there was a regionals in Perth, Australia, and then we're also going to go over the top 8 of the Singapore Open, which happened in the same weekend. And then we've got a pretty cool team of the week to go over here later, and then we're going to show off what we're working on for your week 2 of our draft league.
Correct. So jumping right in, we going into team of the week?
Yeah.
All right. So this team of the week comes from our wonderful Discord server. Make sure you join that. The link is down in the show notes as always. This is coming from Tofu on Discord. We have Bisharp, Gengar, Dracozolt, Sableye, Gmax Coalossal, and Primarina. There's a couple interesting things going on with this team that I really, really like. The first one being Steam Engine Coalossal with Weakness Policy and Aqua Jet coming from Primarina. So, like, obviously, I'm a big fan of Weakness Policy right now. I think being able to just incidentally set it up by next to nothing is really great, which if you happen to watch my draft league video from last week on our YouTube channel, hashtag sub to the YouTube channel, I was doing something similar, except I was doing it with Tyranitar and Sylveon. So still same idea, but Coalossal benefits as well because it also triggers Steam Engine then, and it just gets to go super fast and smash through everything.
Yeah, being able to just like double down on I got hit by a priority water move. I am now the fastest thing on the field and the strongest thing on the field. It works really well in tandem. I'm also real big on Weakness Policy. I did the same thing with mine, except I was using Ice Shard and Goodra as my Weakness Policy holder. And it did a lot of work for me in our draft league last week as well. But what I'm real high up on is the Dracozolt Sableye lead. Being able to just quash your target with Dracozolt, being able to quash Dracozolt's target and guarantee double Bolt Beak damage is insane.
Yeah, that's real sweet.
Also, Sableye just has this slew of support moves that you can pick from. You get Will-O-Wisp, you get Knockoff, Fake Out, Sunny Day, Rain Dance. He doesn't get... I don't think he gets Fake Tears, but he gets a good chunk of the support move, and he's Prankster to begin with. Also kind of naturally bulky. I was real worried that without the Mega, he was actually just going to, like, do nothing. Because his typing is really cool. He's one of my favorite Gen 3 Pokemon. And I just feel like he's being super underutilized right now because Grimmsnarl is in the format and it just has...
They definitely fill that same role where, you know, dark prankster abuser that kind of have speed control slapped onto him as well.
Yeah, like...
They're very, very similar.
The speed control from Grimmsnarl being Thunder Wave. Sableye getting both speed control and Will-O-Wisp, though, is what I feel like just like... If you need Will-O-Wisp and speed control on a Prankstermon, Sableye is just heads above better than Grimmsnarl in that case. But then if you need, like, the defensive power, screens and whatnot, you go with Grimmsnarl. So it's like, you could play with both and, like, figure out which one you really, really need. This team doesn't really need the screens. You're pretty much faster than almost everybody you're going to run up against.
Especially with, like, Quash, so you can Bolt Beak. And then, like, Gengar also is just, like, insanely fast.
Oh, yeah.
So being able to get the setup with it. And then, like, you also have Coalossal, who's just insane. Yep. You know, when it gets to go fast, it's going real fast.
Exactly.
So then the other thing we have going on here is we have this Gengar set's really, really interesting. So we're max speed, max special attack, 4 HP, timid. So like already hitting like a truck.
Yeah.
Have focus sash so we can actually live a hit, because I mean it makes sense. We are super frail, and so they need to double into us. Otherwise, we're gonna get at least 2 turns of being able to do what we want. Sledge Bomb, Shadow Ball, Energy Ball, and then on our last slot we have Trick Room, and this is actually a really interesting piece of tech because we're not a Trick Room team, but we're using Trick Room as speed control.
Yep.
So against opposing Trick Room, you get to reset it and go back to regular dimensions, and against something like Tailwind, you get to Trick Room. So now their Tailwind is a hindrance compared to an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually a super kind of sweet piece of tech here. I'm just like, well, why would you have Trick Room on, a super fast mon like Gengar, especially when your team is built to go fast? And at the end of the day, it's just like, well, because you can't beat Trick Room.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You when you have a way to stop Trick Room, yeah. Does Gengar get access to Imprison?
It does, but Imprison works as long as the Pokemon's alive. And let's be honest, Gengar is not the tankiest Pokemon in the room.
Gotcha. Okay. I wasn't sure if it was, we can, against opposing Trick Room, we can go turn 1 Imprison. Well, now your Trick Room doesn't do anything. And then, set up from there. But then they're just like, all right, kill your Gengar, get on with our lives, set up Trick Room.
The Imprison works, the prison setup works if you can guarantee Oko the TR setter. Mm-hmm. So, that's where Bisharp would come in this case. Bisharp being the Dark Steel type that can usually hit both Hatterene and Dusclops and Mimikyu all super effectively in any shape or form. You can do the Imprison setup with this, but I think they went with Energy Ball in this case because they have a definite missing of... They have no grass type moves at all. They kind of just need something that grass can coverage, I guess. I don't know why we picked Energy Ball on Gengar looking through the team, but I don't see
I wouldn't hate swapping Energy Ball for Protect.
I don't see a major weakness to water. Gmax Coalossal is the only thing that would
weak to it.
To it.
That's fine if it gets hit by it.
I guess ground types against Bisharp, it helps there too, but that's about really long and short of it.
I definitely could see swapping Energy Ball for Protect. If they're going in for the double up into Gengar, just be like, well, no. Yeah. Let's stop that. And then you can set up and sweep.
Going back through the Trick Room thing, it also is, there's this kind of pseudo Trick Room thing with Primarina. So as long as you don't Dynamax your Primarina, you get to go Hyper Voice, get your Throat Spray proc, and then just Moonblast everybody to death. Mm-hmm. And you will probably be going first in this Trick Room because it's just if you're using this strategy, everyone's probably faster than you anyway. So you can just do Sableye things, do Primarina things, and just kind of just mess with them under Trick Room for a while until you can get to the point where you're set up and then just you've handled all the problematic Pokemon that's your opponent's got for you. So that's it's kind of this cool synergistic team. There's a lot of little nuances that are built throughout the team. Trying to go through the rest of these moves. I'm not a fan of Aerial Ace or Dragon Claw in this Dracozolt.
I don't hate Dragon Claw, but it also gets access to Dragon Tail.
Yeah,
which hits way harder.
It doesn't hit much harder, but having the added utility of force a swap. Yeah. Against a weakness policy target that isn't Dynamax, you could force the swap out, and it's like your Haze.
Or even you could also against opposing Trick Room just Dragon Tail the Trick Room setter. Get it out of there. Now they lost a turn, basically.
Yep. So I like Dragon Tail over Dragon Claw. Aerial Ace, I'd much rather just be Protect.
Yeah, I agree.
But I can also see just like we need a move that is guaranteed to hit because we're hustle.
True.
But
we're Dynamaxing, so just like being able to make sure that we hit isn't really a problem if we're Dynamaxing.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of minor synergies here that I really like, but there's also a few minor things I would tweak and change. And I think those minor changes would help out quite a lot.
Yeah. Anything else on this team you want to talk about?
I don't really see anything. I'm a big fan of Bisharp. Like it's I know a lot of people don't really like Gen 5, but Gen 5 is one of my favorites looking back. So having another like one of my favorite Pokemon from Gen 5 doing something here is A-okay for me. So
it's Pokemon like Bisharp that keep Incineroar like kind of played
honest.
like it's played like yeah. If you haven't watched my Draft League video from this week, Incineroar does a lot of work against my opponent, and not having a good answer to it means I just get to sit there and just do whatever I want and not really be threatened by the special attackers that he's got on the other side, because Assault Vest Incineroar is just so bulky.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can really do.
We'll talk about that, I'm sure, a little bit more throughout this, but it's just like, you know, Kyle anticipated you having the typical Incineroar set of, you know, having Fake Out and having Parting Shot and stuff like this, and you're just like, no, I'm just going to sweep you.
Yeah, I'm just going to smash you with this physical Incineroar.
So it's just like, well, this isn't at all what I anticipated, and now we're dead.
That's the fun part about doing draft leagues, though, is you can go outside the norms of what's...
Yeah, true.
Because you're not everyone's going to be at the same... Everyone's playing all the best mons all the time, because the best mons are spread out amongst your draft pool.
Which is why, we'll talk about it here after a little bit, but, you know, you get people like me who are playing Shekel. So... So, you know, there's a lot of really, really sweet things that we have going on, and I'm really excited to actually get a larger draft league going once this season is over.
Yeah,
opening it up to the rest of the listeners. So, again, if you're interested, join the Discord. Links down in the show notes.
We should be starting the next draft league early May.
It should be around just slightly before the next the first expansion comes out.
Yeah, there was thought about delaying it until the DLC comes out, but
which we honestly might do, just because like that opens up the draft pool that much more.
Yeah, which that might happen, but we'll get more information out as it becomes available to y'all.
Yep, figure all that out when it happens. So.
Yep. So. Which topic do you want to talk about?
I guess we can just jump right into Singapore here if you don't have anything else to say on Team of the Week.
Nope, I got all my thoughts out.
So moving right into Singapore then, moving right into we only have top 8s from these two events this week, so I'm probably gonna try to go through these. Oh yeah, probably about average time.
I was about to say
we're still covering 16 teams this week, so
yeah, it's still the same. It's just it's split up between two events.
So in first place we have Hard Trick Room with Hatterene, Indeedee, Dusclops, Torkoal, Rhyperior, and Vileplume. Kind of sweet little interaction between Chlorophyll, Vileplume, and Drought Torkoal. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, wait, what did I actually just say?
So, funnily enough, we have a little bit of insider information. The guy was supposed to get a Pokemon from someone he knew and ended up not getting it. So, I'm assuming it's he was supposed to get a Venusaur.
So instead we played
Vileplume that we hastily built.
That's actually awesome. I hadn't heard that, but that's awesome.
our user our listener Zeno mentioned that because he went and played at this event. He went 3-3 at the Open and then 3-3 at the MSS. So pretty decent finishes. Not enough to make day 2 for anything, or actually like maybe prize out, but still pretty good finishes being in the middle of the pack. I believe he was also on like Trick Room Speed Swap thing.
He was playing the team of the week we talked about last week with Speed Swap, Rabombi, and sweeping people with Mudsdale.
Yep. Which, from what he has told us, team went okay. He has a couple things he wanted to change. I don't remember exactly what they all are right now, but he mentioned that Trick Room was super popular at Singapore, and as we go through the rest of these teams, it'll become very apparent.
Definitely see more of it, yeah.
So this first one with the Torkoal, the Rhyperior, Dusclops, Indeedee, Hatterene, and the Vileplume that's probably supposed to be a Venusaur. Looking at like the team just below it, it's the same 5 Mons, except they have the actual Venusaur.
Yeah, they have Venusaur over Vileplume. I wonder if that actually came up where Vileplume was better than Venusaur.
Exactly, that's what I'm wondering. Is this like, was Vileplume actually like better in this case, because they're the same teams minus their chlorophyll.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what's going on here?
Yeah, that's the big question is like, what is this doing that Venusaur wasn't, or was it just a Trick Room mirror in the finals, and they just ignored the chlorophyll abusers?
Yeah, I know both get access to sleep powder. I know Venusaur's special attack's a little bit higher. I think Vileplume's just a little bit bulkier though.
Let me look that up. I actually don't know. Let's see. We want Vileplume.
It is the other way around. Venusaur is the bulkier Mon by a little bit.
What is Venusaur's base speed?
Venusaur's base speed is 80 and Vileplume is 50.
Is 50. So Vileplume actually kind of looks more appealing in specifically Trick Room.
Right?
Its shiny is also god awful. I have never actually seen this. This is hideous.
That's bad. Venusaur's a little bit more well-rounded as all of its stats, whereas Vileplume is better under Trick Room setup without the sun, and also has 10 more special attack.
Also gets Drain Punch? What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's got hands. It can punch you.
Technically, you are correct. Also gets Pollen Puff. That's really sweet.
Yeah, that's another cool thing, is the fact that it gets Pollen Puff means it can be a supporty style 2 Rhyperior as well.
Yeah, I can actually get down with this. This is actually really sweet.
That might be the difference maker, being able to heal up his Rhyperior compared to Venusaur not being able to do that to his... can actually just be super duper relevant.
Yeah, between Pollen Puff, we get access to Dazzling Gleam, so our coverage is a little different compared to Venusaur 2. We still get Sludge Bomb, Sludge Wave, whichever poison attack you want. Energy Ball and Solar Beam. So if depending on what we're doing, Sleep Powder. I don't see access to Weather Ball.
Yeah, Weather Ball isn't as necessary.
Especially when you're sitting next to Torkoal.
Yeah.
It's good, but it doesn't mean it's necessary. So it really comes down to Pollen Puff versus Earth Power.
Yeah, which do you prefer? Do you prefer being able to kill a Rhyperior, or do you prefer being able to heal your own Rhyperior?
And we also get access to Moonblast and Dazzling Gleam. So there are corner cases where Vileplume may be the correct call.
Yeah. And that might have been what happened here.
Yeah, that I think that very well could be exactly what happened here. Is I wonder how much truth there is behind that. Of hey, this was good all day when I actually got to use it compared to, well, I was playing 5 Mons all weekend.
Yeah.
You know, I would be interested in hearing that story, but I think specifically for Trick Room, I think Vileplume is correct.
Yep. Going out of the top 2, where they're pretty much the same, into the top 4 here, the third place team resembles something a little bit similar to what we were thinking of being popular. It's Sand with Tyranitar and Excadrill and Togekiss, and then we have Serena Milotic as like coverage, and then I'm assuming this Dusclops here is to specifically just like counter Trick Room.
Yeah, because we don't have Trick Room abusers here. Like, I mean, Serena and Milotic aren't fast. Same with Tyranitar. So, like, I'm sure you could do something there. But overall, like, this is clearly not a Trick Room team.
Yeah.
So, this is just support Dusclops that also can counter Trick Room, I guess.
Like, we get to do Ally Switch, we get Pain Split, we get Haze. Dusclops does a really good support impression, and it's just naturally bulky and especially with Eviolite, you just kind of just like sit there, turn off weakness policy buffs, turn off any Dynamax attacks buffs, which you also get rid of your debuffs that your opponent gives you. Mm-hmm. So having Haze on Dusclops in this situation being a support is probably really, really good.
Oh, between like Haze, Ally Switch, and like Will-O-Wisp, like there's a lot of things you get to do with Dusclops. You can also like Bulldoze, so you can trigger your like weakness policy on Tyranitar.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's something that I was kind of looking into for Draft League, but Dusclops is already taken. So I'm just like, well, I guess we're using Chandelure. That kind of doesn't do the same thing at all.
Yeah. I like this Serena and I like this Milotic a lot in this team.
Mm-hmm.
They both are just like good odd mons that are in their types. Milotic
they're
being
just good
really
mons on their own.
Yeah, Milotic being just a really good bulky water type, and then Serena being a physical grass attacker with really cool abilities that can actually just like be super beneficial.
And like past that, like physical grass is not something we see a lot of. When the last 2 teams we're talking about, Vileplume and Venusaur, like physical grass is slightly uncommon in reality.
Yeah, the other physical grass that was really popular being Leafeon before we got Venusaur as like the best chlorophyll user. So also Queenly Majesty is just like
it's really good.
Really good. Turning off priority moves against your allies, but you still get to use yours, is really, really strong.
It's a one-sided psychic terrain, and that's sweet.
Now, granted, I don't know how relevant it is when everyone is setting up psychic terrain, and that probably is what ended up getting them, and probably on their way to top 2. So, because the other top 4 team is again that 5-man core of Indeedee, Hatterene, Dusclops, Rhyperior, Torkoal. Their only other difference is they have Butterfree as their support mon for Rhyperior. Whereas if they with that Vileplume, they'd have another damage source that also could be a support.
Well, interesting note is like in Trick Room mirrors, like how important is Tailwind? Like, are you trying to just negate the Trick Room and play with Speed Ties, or why not set up Tailwind and in the event you can keep Trick Room off the table, then you're set up better.
Yeah. But this is like how relevant. How many times you get to do that?
Yeah, exactly. It's a super niche corner case, but that is something that could come up.
Notably, Butterfree Sleep Powder hits 100% of the time,
compared to 75%. Is that correct?
70 or 75. I can't remember.
Which is A+, man. Butterfree is secretly like one of my favorite mons to play with in this gen right now. Just like, and you're asleep, and we're going to heal our thing, and now this one's asleep because it woke up, and, oh, you're switching in, you can go to sleep too. And you're like, well, you're playing Sand, I lost my focus sash, we're dead now.
You also get, like, like you said, Tailwind, you get Rage Powder, Pollen Puff. Butterfree's a real good support mon if you don't really have to have like hard speed control. If you just like need to set up Tailwind and that's all you need it to do, and then it can just sit there and just be a redirect bot like your Togekiss kind of can be. So that's really cool. But I feel like the guy in first place, I am not going to even pretend I know how to pronounce this person's name.
Yeah, I'm not going near it.
So I feel like the Vileplume is just a better version of the Butterfree in the Trick Room case here because it's just another damage dealer. It works well with the Torkoal. Whereas Butterfree kind of just sits there and helps you break speed ties, but doesn't really do any damage. Like you could teach it Hurricane, but
Hurricane's not very good.
Like it's a very like niche corner case. It's like, oh, I gotta confuse off.
My big thing is I have Pollen Puff, but majority of the time I'm healing my teammate compared to actually attacking.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, it's there, but it's technically a support move.
Yeah. It's just good to, like, if you have to Gmax your Butterfree, which this one was a Gmax Butterfree, it turns into Gmax Befuddle, which is really, really good.
The problem is like, because you're so much of a support mon, having your Gmax be a support mon is just whatever. It's I don't think I've ever Dynamax Butterfree, but I know I have the option if it ever comes up.
Yep. Moving out of the top 4 into the top 8 here, we see some more Trick Rooms at the bottom of the top 8, and then some other teams in the middle here.
Yeah, let's talk about this 5th place team here. This is something near and dear to my heart. This is right up my alley of mons I like to play.
It's got Durant, Tyranitar, Milotic, Sylveon, Gothitelle.
Just those 5 I am sold on. I love it. I don't care what the last mon is.
Well, the last mon is Torracat, which we were talking about last week, being just like, if you have a really big weakness to fighting, i.e. Tyranitar, running Incineroar is probably not the best idea, so why not run Torracat? And that's pretty much what happened here. Torracat is in the place of Incineroar as this bulky support fire type that isn't as fast as Arcanine, but gets Parting Shot, so you can just keep swapping it in and out, which has value to it. Being able to just overheat, Parting Shot, swap out, swap back in, overheat,
fake
Parting
out
Shot.
something. Yeah.
Just like being able to do this back and forth is really good.
Yeah, it's definitely a sweet piece of technology, especially because like you're not fighting for an item on Incineroar because you just have to hold Eviolite.
Yeah.
So it's just like, well, this is something that isn't going to come up otherwise. I'm just going to slap Eviolite on this and it'll be fine.
Also, it's like with Gothitelle being the other mon out there on the field, all these Intimidates stack up. All these Parting Shots stack up. They're not able to swap out without taking out the Gothitelle.
Yep.
And Gothitelle is just naturally bulky and I think Gothitelle gets Wish? I don't remember.
I don't know if it gets Wish. I know it gets Heal Pulse.
Yeah, I know it gets Heal Pulse. I don't know if it gets Wish. Not a lot of Pokemon get Wish anymore, which is sad. I hated that move so much.
What do you mean? It's an egg move for Eevee.
Hated that move so much.
Let's see. It does not get Wish.
Okay. But being able to Heal Pulse is insane.
It gets Magic Room. Does that do anything for you?
No.
Alright, I tried.
Again, Milotic, good bulky water type. Real good in opposing Incineroars and Torracats in this case. Durant is just a powerhouse of a Pokemon as long as they don't have a fire type move. But Durant's
Which is where Milotic comes in. It's just like, well, fire. If you have a Firemon, well, Milotic can handle it. Same with T-Tar. Just like, go away. We don't want to deal with you right now. Go away.
The problem is Durant loses really hard to Trick Room. And
I wonder if Gothitelle was doing Trick Room Imprison stuff so you don't die to that.
Probably was, but then at that point they just double into your Gothitelle and then what? then your whole
Well, the
strategy's
thing
falling
is,
apart.
like, they can't swap out, so, like, Durant comes in, smashes whatever Trick Room setter they have. I could see it.
If it's built right, it does.
Yeah, true.
Because the common build doesn't Oko Dusclops.
Yeah, it's a coin flip to Oko, whereas if you're Adamant compared to Jolly, you're 100% to Oko with Crunch.
Yep.
Well, Max Darkness.
I wonder how much the Indeedee being a follow me matters. Because that protects your Dusclops or your Hatterene for a turn.
Yeah, that's the big downfall to Durant is redirection.
Also, Hatterene gets Mystical Fire.
And there's a lot of Hatterenes in the top 4.
Oh yeah.
So I could see that being why Durant did not do well here, is because it can beat up Dusclops, but when Dusclops is backed up with Follow Me, like, that is bad. That's real bad for Durant.
Yep. Moving on to the 6th place team here. This is something a little bit more...
This is more like week 1 of Series 1 kind of stuff going on here.
Yeah, except we have a Venusaur.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it has a lot of old tech going on with it.
We've got Dragapult, Rotom Wash, Sableye, Togekiss, Gmax Snorlax, and Venusaur. I'm assuming what's happening here is we're kind of just like this control style speed control team with Max Airstream off Togekiss and Quash from Sableye. We have the fastest Pokemon in the game, Dragapult. We have a real good water type in Rotom. We have Venusaur, which I don't know who's setting up Sun. Probably Gmax Togekiss with like a Heat Wave or...
No, you're doing it with Sableye with Prankster.
I guess you could do Sunny Day with that if you wanted to.
That's most likely what it is. You could also have Heat Wave on Togekiss, like you said, and just be like, all right, well, now not only do we have Max Airstream on Venusaur, but like we also not only do we have the +1 from Max Airstream, but we also have Chlorophyll, so like you're very dead. This thing is going to hit you very hard and very fast.
I also like the Snorlax here is just like trying to, if I can't beat Trick Room, I'm going to use Trick Room while I can. And just like playing super slow, bulky Snorlax, here it is. In your face. I'm the slowest thing on the field because I set it up right. So that's kind of, it's just like, if you can't beat them, join them. Like, that's kind of what you have to do. Which we'll talk about this more after we get through all these top 8s. Trick Room is getting really, really popular.
Yeah, for sure.
Which, this is the gimmick that everyone thought was just like, it doesn't do anything, it's fine. You just kill the setter and nothing happens. But like these teams are starting to get to the point where they have 2 setters. One of the setups is like almost impossible to actually like do anything to. And the other one is, if you don't Oko it, then the rest of the Mons behind it are going to Oko you because they've brought fast Mons on their slow team.
I mean, we talked about it a bit last week too. It's just like, man, there is a real big tick up in how dominant Trick Room can actually be. And like we see it this week talking over these teams, and like it has a very dominant performance here in top 8, and it looks, just quickly going over this, it looks like there's a handful of them in Perth as well.
Yeah.
Getting down here to 7th and 8th.
Probably just touch on these really quickly because they're pretty much the same as the top 2, except the 7th place is more Sun than Trick Room.
Yeah, it has the big Sun theme of Torkoal, Charizard, Venusaur. But you also have Trick Room with Dusclops and Rhyperior Torkoal. And then you also just have Togekiss because it's the best thing you can be doing and it's super good.
Yep.
So you have a lot of moving pieces all here together. And like that was something like week 1 that people were talking about. It's just like, man, Sun's going to be the best thing. They get Solar Blaze Charizard, they get Venusaur, and like it hasn't really done anything.
It turns out when you run like 2 fire mons on the same team, it's you're really weak to water and rock and ground, which are all really common.
Yeah.
It also doesn't help that Venusaur is also weak to ground.
No, it's not. It's resistant. No, it's neutral, isn't it?
I don't think so.
Man, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am.
I don't think grass resists ground anymore.
Let's see. It is weak.
It is
weak to ground.
Is it?
Yeah.
It is.
Huh. Interesting. It used to be neutral, right?
What I'm seeing is says it's neutral. Where are you looking up?
I am on... That's a wonderful question. What the hell is this website?
I'm on Cerebi, and it says it's neutral.
Oh, well then, yeah. Well, I'll trust Cerebi.
It says it's neutral.
Yeah, the official Pokemon website also says it's neutral. So
I was about to say, it's just like...
I'm going to say whatever thing I saw is wrong.
I don't know where you're looking.
Yeah, some Pokemon Go website, I think. I don't know.
Oh, that might be why.
But that's still wrong.
Exactly. You're looking on a Pokemon Go website.
Whatever. I'm off it.
Anyway, it's the fact that it's not resistant and it's neutral is just like, it's a big thing. Because Venusaur's not very bulky to be actually begin with. It has decent bulk, but the Pokemon that are using ground type moves are usually physical, and you are not physically defensive on your Venusaur.
Yep.
And then the last place team is the same as the second place team.
Yep, just more hard Trick Room with Venusaur.
Yep. Venusaur doing what we expected Lapras to be doing, and it is just like popping up everywhere now.
Yeah, I mean, for the top 8 here.
Not a single Lapras to be seen.
Nope.
Which is surprising because Lapras works really well in Trick Room as well.
Yeah, with it being moderately slow, yeah. It's surprising to see it not putting up the results you expected. That being said, moving over here to... Is it Perth?
Perth.
Or is it Perth?
Perth.
Perth? It is Perth?
Yep.
Okay. So, moving over here to Perth, in 6th place we have Trick Room with Lapras, Alchemy, Mimikyu, Incineroar, Ludicolo, and Conkeldurr. So, it doesn't, on surface level, it doesn't look like Trick Room.
Yeah, it's super subtle Trick Room, and that's what's cool.
Then when you actually start looking at it, like, you have a really sweet Trick Room team with Lapras, Mimikyu, Conkeldurr, and probably Incineroar. Like, if you lead Incineroar, Mimikyu, like, you fake out one thing, Trick Room the other, like, they can't kill Mimikyu because of Disguise then, so you get your Trick Room off.
Yep.
So, it's subtly not a Trick Room. Like, on surface level, it doesn't seem like it's just like a hodgepodge of mons, but when you actually get down to it, like, this is really kind of some sweet sweetness here.
Yeah. But
moving right back up here to we'll start back at the top and work our way back down. I just on that topic of Lapras Trick Room, I wanted to touch that. So
yeah, it was there. The opportunity was there. We took it. First place team is not totally what you actually expect to see in this meta. Corviknight, Hitmontop, Gastrodon, Tyranitar, Rotom Heat, and then Venusaur's back again.
Man, Venusaur evidently is really good in sand, too.
Yeah, like, it's good anywhere you can potentially set up Sun, and it's also just a good Sun counter. It's like running Snorlax to counter Trick Room.
Yeah.
Running Venusaur is good against other Sun teams.
Which, like, I mean, there's really nothing here in top 8, but that doesn't mean, like, they're non-existent.
Yeah, there wasn't, like, anything below them that popped up, but
the interesting thing here is, like, again, some week 1 stuff that I worked on is, like, Corviknight and Hitmontop, like, you have more Rotom here. There's a lot of, like, in reality, there's 4 Rotoms here in top 8. Like, compared to 0 in Singapore.
Right?
So it's really weird, man, when you actually look over these events. It's just like, man, something like Rotom, yeah, you saw 0 in one event, has 4 in top 8 in another. And like, where Venusaur was really good in Singapore, there was 1 in top 8 here. So it's some real minor differences, but it looks almost like 2 completely different metagames.
Yeah. Corviknight is really cool. I like Corviknight a lot. I wish it was... It's good when everyone is like being bulky and you need to be fast because it's Tailwind and it's got natural bulk and you can just Brave Bird and Roost all the time. Magic Armor means they can't lower your defense, so you're just any buffs you get just stay as buffs. But I just haven't been a fan of it because Charizard was a thing, and now that Charizard's probably not as popular now, it's probably getting better. Hitmontop, another one. Hitmontop's another one where I was just like, this is cool, but Togekiss is a thing.
Yeah. That was my biggest problem with playing Hitmontop. It's just like, when you start seeing all the Togekiss in the room, Top falls out of favor really quickly.
Yeah. Gastrodon is a mon I expect to see less play because Venusaur was popular, and it looks like it's the only one going through here. Yeah. So it's like, this is held up to my expectations. Gastrodon is cool. It does a good thing really, really well, which is stop water types. But with Venusaur being a popular mon, I feel like it's going to see less and less play because it's just super easy just to like poke it with a grass type move and just take it out.
Well, the interesting piece here is like, you have a pretty big weakness to water when you have Tyranitar and Rotom Heat. So like having Storm Drain on Gastrodon is just like good. So, and that's the one thing that Gastrodon's always been good at, is just like, well, we're gonna stop that.
Yeah.
Like it's Gastrodon requires a lot of like outmaneuvering your opponent is the best way to put it, I feel like.
Yeah.
That being said, moving down to second place, unless you have anything else to say.
I was trying to think of what the T-Tar is really doing here besides just being a sand setter. Is it Assault Vest or Weakness Policy? I'm looking through. I think it's Weakness Policy because you get Bulldoze access through Hitmontop.
You also get Bullet Punch.
Yeah.
You get Bullet Punch or Mach Punch. Mach Punch does significantly more, though.
Yeah. You can do Bullet Punch things, but like Bulldoze also is just like utility. You slow everyone else down around you, which can be good.
Yeah, I understand. It also, the problem is like, it also makes Tyranitar then slower. So like, yeah, it's going to kill something, but then whatever they're bringing in is going to be faster than Tyranitar. Whereas if you Bullet Punch, then you're getting to proc your Weakness Policy immediately, and hopefully killing whatever big threat they had before he gets to kill you.
Yep.
But again, like, the problem with all this is Weakness Policy requires you to get hit, causing you to play at, 75 to 80% of your health compared to 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a bunch of give and take here, but overall, it could be like self-procking Weakness Policy.
Could also just be Assault Vest.
Yeah, it could just be Vest and just like run stuff down.
Yep.
Hell, it could be Life Orb, which is not very common, but again, it could be. That's my one complaint about Pokemon data, is we don't know specifics. Whereas with Magic, it's just like, oh, they have 4 of this, 4 of that, they have X number of lands, it's just like, you have the entire list in front of you, whereas here it's just like, yeah, you can speculate and formulate an idea of what's going on, but you don't know 100% of the time.
Yeah, Pokemon's got so much just like little math that it's hard to really tell what exactly is going on. Like, we can know the moves, but we may never actually figure out the exact EV spreads. Unless you just unless they want to give you all the stats for the Pokemon, which that's a lot of little number crunching that nobody wants to do.
True, exactly. So that's when it comes down to, who's going to produce that data? Is it up to Nintendo to put it all out for us, or are we just kind of going to do our own thing and just have to infer it? And that's the way Nintendo wants to approach it, and that's the way I'm willing to accept it.
Yep.
At least Nintendo gives us data.
Right? Moving on to second place, another Corviknight showing up in the top 2, which...
Man, it's really weird seeing Corviknight. It
right?
really is.
We got Corviknight, Sylveon, Mimikyu, Arcanine, Rotom Wash, and then a Dragapult.
Huh. Interesting.
I'm not sure what we're doing. I'm assuming this Mimikyu is more anti-Trick Room than Trick Room.
I can get down with that.
You can give this thing a room service, and then you are actually significantly slow enough to actually function under Trick Room with that Pokemon. Arcanine's probably bulky fire support.
Yep.
Rotom Wash is just a good Watermon.
I know something that was really common back in, Gen 4, Gen 5, somewhere in there, is like, you would put specs on Rotom. Like, that's not something we really see anymore. Rotom is kind of got hit by power creep, so, like, it can't afford to be choiced into one item, into one move, where it needs its entire move pool to be able to function.
Yep.
So, it moves into berries and, stuff like that. Stuff
Iron
in that
Ball.
realm. Yeah. Are they doing Iron Ball things?
I've seen a lot of people just do an Iron Ball, trick it onto Pokemon.
Oh, trick. Okay. Like, what am I missing?
But I like the Sylveon as just like a pair to this Arcanine. You kind of just sit there. Arcanine sits there and just snarls everything. Arcanine lowers everyone's attack and special attack so much that Sylveon kind of just gets to sit there and be this bulky fairy type and just put out so much damage with Hyper Voice.
Man, I love Sylveon. It is easily like my favorite Mon in this gen. It is the only Pokemon I specifically shiny hunted so far. It's just like, I am so glad I have this because I'm gonna use it so much.
Looking through the rest of it, Corviknight is probably just another bulky defensive wall.
Yep.
With Brave Bird. Dragapult's probably there just to be like, I am fastest thing on field. I will OHKO anything in front of me.
It looks like here that Dragapult most likely is going to be damage based. Because like otherwise your biggest damage like output is going to be from Sylveon and Rotom. So this Dragapult is probably setting up to just sweep people. Probably not like Dragon Dance kind of setting up. It's just like, alright, Dynamax, kill a couple things, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, it doesn't have to set up Dragon Dance if it's the fastest thing on the field.
True. And that's the perks of being, a base 143 speed?
Yeah, 143.
I know it's 40 something, I can't remember if it's 3 or 8. I know it's a really weird number. That's the only thing I can ever remember.
It's 143.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, I could see Mimikyu also being, like, your damage output, while also being, like, anti-Trick Room, which we really don't see a lot of here in Top 8 at all. But
yeah.
That doesn't mean it's non-existing, So, Mimikyu is something I've tried to work on. It's been something I've gone hit and miss on. I was working on it quite a lot when I was working on Durant. When I first started working on Durant, it was something I worked on. And the biggest problem is... my biggest problem with Mimikyu is... Like, I don't know what item to ever put on it. Because, like...
You're always your best bet is either Life Orb if you have it, or Room Service if you're scared of Trick Room.
Yep. And I've done stuff with like Assault Vest. I've done a non-zero amount of berries. Like I've done a lot with Mimikyu, and it again is like one of those that's super versatile and has a really wide moveset that can be both physically offensive and also very supportive depending on how you build it.
Yeah. Moving on to the third place, this looks like Sand Trick Room. And Trick Room, Tailwind, Sand stuff. I can almost guarantee that this is an Assault Vest Tyranitar, though.
If you look at it, minus the Dusclops here, it is sand. Like, that is very obvious. But then you add in that Dusclops, and you're probably doing something like what was really inspired by the Japanese players, where you have Min-Speed Incineroar with Weakness Policy. So you Bulldoze with Dusclops, set up your Weakness Policy, sweep with Incineroar. Whereas Incineroar is also just good on its own outside of Trick Room by being just supportive.
Yep.
So, yeah, it gets to Fake Out on 1, get Bulldozed into Sweep on 2, which is probably good enough most of the time. And when Trick Room isn't good, because you're not worried about it, when you don't want to go slower than your opponent, when you don't want to slow the game down and just need to be hyper offensive, you get to bring Braviary instead set up Tailwind and just go faster than your opponent.
Yep.
So it's kind of two sides of the same coin, where you want to outspeed your opponent, but which way are they going to try to outspeed you?
Yeah, this comes down to how do you want to do your speed control.
Yep. So you get Trick Room or you get access to Tailwind, and both can be correct depending on what you're doing.
The fourth place team is doing kind of the same thing. It has access to both Tailwind and Trick Room, but it is more reliant on. It's like there's like a Tailwind strategy, and then there's a Trick Room strategy, and it's not like got anything else to go in between. You're either one or the other.
Unlike the third place team, this one doesn't have a lot of the intertwining pieces. Like, you have one very set team that is your Tailwind team, and then you have your very set team that is Trick Room.
Yep.
So we have Togekiss, Whimsicott, Durant, Chandelure, Milotic, and Conkeldurr. So, like, the first team, you're going to have Togekiss, Whimsicott, Durant, and then your pick of support between Chandelure and Milotic. And then the other side of that is you have your Trick Room team of Chandelure, Conkeldurr, probably Togekiss, and Milotic.
Yep.
So you don't need your Tailwind or your Prankster ability inside of Trick Room. So instead, you're just going to slow the game down, set it where you have the advantage in your speed control, and be able to take over the game that way. When they're anticipating the Tailwind, you can bring Trick Room and just counteract it, and it has a lot of play to it, but not as much as the Sand team in third.
Yeah.
But again, like, all these mons are just like playable on their own, so it could just be, pick 4 and it's good. depending on what your opponent is doing, you can just be like, all right, well, we're gonna lead Togekiss, Durant, follow me, smash the thing, and like have Conkeldurr with Mach Punch and Drain Punch in the back, and just like depending on what threat I'm anticipating, having a different answer to it. So
yep,
there's a lot of play to it when you're not trying to do specifically like Trick Room versus Tailwind too.
Agreed. Moving on to the fifth place team, this one's a little weird. So we've got Gyarados, Excadrill, Hydreigon, Chandelure, Milotic, and Grimmsnarl in the back here. Trying to figure out what the lead is here. It's probably Grimmsnarl and like Excadrill, or Grimmsnarl and Hydreigon, or like trying to do something weird and set up screens and then just like sweep with your powerhouses. They've got a lot of just attackers on this team, and not so much in the support roles outside of that.
I mean, if you look at it, they still have like three sweepers versus 3 support. It's just like their support isn't what I would want. Does that make sense?
I'm looking through it, like Chandelure's support is turn off Trick Room.
Yeah.
That's all it does. Its other 2 moves are attack moves.
sure, it can, set up Will-O-Wisp, but, like, you're going fast, you're beating things up before they need to be Will-O-Wisp.
Yeah.
So, I guess you're right where it's just, like, anti-Trick Room, but, like, then this Milotic is just, like, kind of just here is what it feels like.
This Milotic just feels like I needed a defensive mon. Here's Milotic that's good against Incineroar.
I really want Milotic here to be Raichu, and I'd be way happier. Just have Garachu.
Yeah.
And then, like, your supporting cast is also just fine. Like, you get double fake out with Raichu and Grimmsnarl, so you can just, like, alright, fake out, Volt Switch into Grimmsnarl, fake out, set up screens, do stuff like that. And you also can just, like, sweep and set up with Gyarados and Moxie, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's kind of... This one's, like you said, it's kind of weird, and I don't know if I'm on board with it.
We talked about the 6th place team a little bit already. No real point in talking over it so hard again. I like this Ludicolo, though.
Yeah, Ludicolo's sweet, man.
Having Ludicolo on a Lapras team, because Lapras, after it sets up its Aurora Veil with Gmax Resonance, like, you're probably just going to use Gmax Geyser. So Ludicolo gets Swift Swim to trigger, and then it just gets super duper fast, and can be a speed controls kind of situation where it's like, if they deal with your Alchemy, then you just bring out Ludicolo and just sweep them with Ludicolo.
Yeah, it's definitely a sweet piece of technology. The other really interesting thing here is the Alchemy, so you can decorate your stuff, which, in reality, there's not a lot of redirection here in Top 8. Like, you have 2 Togekiss, and that is it.
Yeah.
So, being able to decorate whatever you need seems real powerful.
Yeah. Moving on to the 7th and 8th place teams here, they both have Aegislash, which I'm very, very high on. They also both share Rotom Wash.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, so I actually didn't see the Rotom in the bottom in 8th place here because it's not in line with the rest of the Rotoms on the team.
Exactly, it's weird. But they're both actually just like, besides Rotom Wash and Aegislash, they both have very specific things they're trying to do. The first one is very fast with Braviary, Whimsicott, and then has Tyranitar and Incineroar in the back as like, here's my damage to go along with this Rotom Wash and Aegislash. And then the 8th place team has this kind of slow redirection game with the combo of Mimikyu and Snorlax, and then Togekiss and Dragapult to just kind of round it out. I actually expect this Dragapult to be physical weakness policy, because this Aegislash probably is using Shadow Sneak on this Dragapult, and then this Dragapult just goes off and just sweeps everything.
Yep.
Whereas on the other team, it looks like we're doing Tailwind stuff, and then probably weakness policy Tyranitar and Assault Vest Incineroar. I would expect your Incineroar to be actually more of a physical attacker than a actual support mon in this case, because we have Braviary, we have Whimsicott, and then just like this thing probably has Parting Shot as its only support move, and then the rest is probably just like physical attackers.
Yep. I can definitely see that. Just being able to punch through a lot of damage with it.
I do like this 8th place team a lot. It's something very close to what I was working on when I first started playing, because I was just like, I like Snorlax, I like Mimikyu, I like Aegislash. I wanted to use Rotom because Rotom was really cool. The Dragapult, I'm just like, I'd much rather play like a Goodra, but it works better with this Aegislash being just like weakness policy Shadow Sneak. And then Togekiss is just the best support mon in this team. You could have Redirection plus Bulk plus Max Airstream if you can't do the Trick Room thing is really good.
Yeah, it's definitely sweet. Like, Mimikyu Snorlax is something that we saw a lot in older games, and not so much in Sword and Shield so far. But, like, that doesn't mean that, like, what was good isn't now.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of reconfiguring your support around it and rebuilding from a central idea.
Yep. And that finishes up the top 8 from Perth.
Yep.
Going through that, there's a lot of freaking Trick Room going right around. And
yeah, there's a ton of Trick Room. Which transitions pretty well into what's doing good. It seems like Trick Room has definitely formed its niche in the format. It's not even that much of a niche anymore. It's just like, this is something you actively need to be aware of, because if you don't, you're going to get beat up by it.
Yep. Like, you have to expect it.
Like, speed control is so critically important in this game that you need to have an answer to it. May that be Tailwind or Trick Room, both of which are opposite ends of the same spectrum.
Yeah. I shared this is from BabiriNet. This is all the showdown. This is the 100 most successful public showdown teams for VGC 2020 from every day. The first place team, the first ranked team, has a global rank of 4. This is from last week. Like, this is like 7-8 days ago. Is Dusclops, Mimikyu, Tyranitar, Arcanine, Melodic, Ferrothorn.
Yep.
Like, this is as hard a Trick Room as you could probably get.
Well, it's not quite that hard, but it is definitely a dedicated Trick Room team.
Second ranked team, global rank of 6 from 2 days ago. Dusclops, Mimikyu, Arcanine, Ferrothorn, and then we swapped Melodic for Primarina and Tyranitar for Dragapult.
Yeah. Again, Trick Room is a viable strategy. Trick Room is a good threat.
Yep. Going over the stats here from the top 100 Showdown, Dragapult actually has 45% usage in the top 100 teams.
And past that, we also have, like, of the top 100, we have 38, like, Dusclops teams. Yep. That's not 38 Trick Room teams. That's 38 Trick Room teams with Dusclops. That's not counting Hatterene and Deedee.
Yeah, like, we could probably scroll through and see Mimikyu, again, is another Trick Room user. There's 30 teams running Mimikyu. Now, granted, part of them are probably also running Dusclops because they pair well together. But still, it's just like, Trick Room is kind of gone from this kind of gimmicky meme thing to, oh, I've cemented my place. Trick Room, you have to play around it now. Anytime you see a Jellicent, a Mimikyu, a Dusclops, a Hatterene, you have to expect it.
All right, Carl. All right. On the topic of Trick Room, I got a team here for you. This is in 94th. If you can search for it real quick, it is a Dusclops team. This is Dusclops, Hatterene, Torkoal, Rhyperior. So, like, very, very hard Trick Room, right?
Uh-huh.
His last 2 mons are Butterfree and Blastoise.
Ooh. So
I'm not gonna lie, this kind of gets me going.
Butterfree is the same Butterfree we normally see paired with Rhyperior. It's a good support for Rhyperior. Yep. I'm actually uncertain on how fast Blastoise is. I know it's not very.
This is one I have not done anything with in so long I could not actually tell you.
Blastoise's speed is 78.
That's not awful.
So it's just on the upper tier of what's viable for Trick Room.
Put a room service on this, man.
Yeah, you throw a room service on it, and you actually just get to do stuff. You get Flash Cannon.
Why does it get Flash Cannon?
It's got cannons on its back. Why else would
I know, man, but is that new to this game?
I think so.
I was gonna say, I've never seen Blastoise Flash Cannon me, and I'm kind of excited about it.
It is definitely not new to just this game. How far back does this go? Still has Flash Cannon. Gen 5. Still has Flash Cannon. Gen 4. Still has flash cannon.
Okay, well, shows what I know, man.
Yeah, ever since flash cannon was a move, I'm pretty sure it's had flash cannon. Yep.
Yeah, this is kind of sweet. Like, you can, like, we have special attack is 85, have good defenses of 100 and 105, so, like, we're bulky. 79 HP is kind of middling, but, like, not unbearable, especially when you have good bulk surrounding it. And, like,
max HP is 186 at level 50.
That's not awful. Like, that's definitely doable.
Yep.
And then, like, you have, like, a slew of good moves. You get Fake Out and Yawn. You get access to, like, Ice Beam, Blizzard, Earthquake,
Water
Weather
Spout,
Ball, Helping Hand. Like, man, I'm actually kind of on board with Blastoise.
Let's see here. We can do Water Spout stuff with the Egg move. We get Water Ring to just be, like, super bulky.
Yeah, we get Aqua Ring and Life Dew.
Oh, goodness. Hydro Cannon.
This is kind of everything I'm about.
This isn't bad.
We get Scald.
Yeah.
So, like, we get actual good moves. Scald, Dragon Pulse, Dark Pulse, Aura Sphere, Muddy Water. And, like, if you want to go offensive, we get access to, like, Earthquake, Outrage, Crunch. Like, we have good moves on all ends of the spectrum.
Hear me out. Eviolite support War Turtle.
How bulky does War Turtle get?
Base max stats for defense and special defense.
Right, 80 each. It's slower. Its HP is so much lower, though.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it gets a lot of extra bulk. It gets up to, what, 120 compared to 100 and 105, but that HP stat is real low.
Is Eviolite after investment?
Yes, it is after investment.
So, neutral special defense and neutral defense with just max IVs is 132. No, that's max. So whatever, if you invest 132, and then Eviolite on top of that,
that gets you to what, 190 something?
That's a lot.
That's pretty bulky. I'm not gonna lie.
So we run max HP, which is 166 at level 50, and then like we can do max defense and Scald. And just pair it with something with Lightning Rod so we never die.
Carl, I will have you know that on Babiri, there are 0 teams playing War Turtle.
Well, darn. I tried.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but everyone disagrees with everything you're doing.
Yeah. That's the fun part about Pokemon is we can just try stuff.
There are actual results on Pikalytics with support War Turtle.
Woo!
Fake Out, Life Dew, Helping Hand, Yawn.
There it is.
Eviolite, Careful, 252 HP, 4 attack, 100 defense, 148 special defense, 4 speed.
God dang.
We also get Icy Wind.
God dang, that thing is bulky.
Why does it get Icy Wind, too?
It's a water type. Most water types get Icy Wind.
And it gets Rain Dish.
Yeah.
Alright, I can be convinced. War Turtle may be good.
Okay.
I doubt it, but I want to try it.
Okay. I'm going to go make a pickup on the draft league. Give me a minute. Speaking of draft league.
Ready. Moving on to our last topic of the week. We have draft league stuff to talk about a little bit here.
Well, you do. I have my bye week this week, which after last week, I kind of needed. I had a nail biter last week.
Your match last week, which for those of you on YouTube should be on a playlist somewhere.
Yeah, draft league playlist on the channel.
Yeah. Definitely go check those out. It has my match and Carl's match. My audio is really bad because I don't know how to record things, evidently. So
that'll be fixed from moving forward.
Yeah, moving forward that'll be definitely better. But this week I am playing my roommate Kyle, who Carl played last week. So if you go watch Carl's VOD from his match this week, you get a general idea of what Kyle's doing. He has a lot of different elements of a lot of different aspects of teams. He gets Lapras, he has Clefairy, he also has like Sun he has Sun with Charizard, Torkoal, Ninetales, and Venusaur.
He took all the Sun, all of it.
He also has Rain support with Pelipper and Barraskewda. So he has a lot of different aspects. He also has Trick Room aspects with Hatterene, and like Lapras is slow. So like he can play in Trick Room, he can play in Sun, he can play in Rain. Like he wants to control the game to his aspect, basically.
Yeah.
So to combat that, we made a couple pickups this week. We made a couple trades. I dropped. Who did I drop? I dropped somebody.
You dropped.
I dropped Raichu.
Yep.
I dropped Raichu for Serena, and then I traded Carl, Aegislash for Inteleon. So this week I'm doing. I got some sweet ones going on here, man. So I'm doing something very similar with Sylveon proccing weakness policy, except this week it's going to be on Pangoro. My Pangoro is going to be EV trained to be exactly 1 speed faster than Lapras, so that we can potentially we OHKO Lapras with +2 from a Drain Punch if it Dynamaxes.
Mm-hmm.
So if he goes for Lapras, we're just gonna shut him down hard. We also get Thunder Punch, we get Darkest Lariat, and we have Gunk Shot in our last slot to be able to deal with Clefairy. Because otherwise, I don't have anything on him that can one-shot it.
Yeah.
Sylveon's going to be the same core I've been running for quite a while. Hyper Voice, Mystical Fire, Protect, Quick Attack, and then Throat Spray, Max Speed, Max Special Attack, 4 HP. And then we're rounding out the team with Inteleon. We have Air Slash, Snipe Shot, Ice Beam, and we're going to soak people so then we can Thunder Punch them with Pangoro. We got the Life Orb on Inteleon this week because I didn't really like any other item on it. I was originally going to have Vest, but I want to be able to soak things, so it's gonna end up having a Life Orb on it this week.
Yeah.
Excadrill, we're going to Mold Breaker, Air Balloon people. Rock Slide, Iron Head, High Horsepower, Brick Break. It's just really fast, hits really hard. Hopefully he just doesn't have a good answer to Excadrill. If he brings Sun, Excadrill gets pretty bad. I don't really like Excadrill lining up against a bunch of fire types, which then where Inteleon's going to step up and hopefully do a little bit of work there. Rounding out the team, we have support Meowstick with Thunder Wave, Fake Out, Fake Tears, and Helping Hand. We have a couple different support pieces with it. Fake Tears is going to be really good alongside Inteleon and Sylveon, just to pick up a lot of extra damage. Thunder Wave for speed control, Fake Out for Fake Out, and Helping Hand for extra damage on top of everything else. So,
when guarantee them OHKOs.
Yep. When Fake Tears is good alongside those, we have it. And then when Helping Hand is... when we're sitting next to a physical sweeper, we have access to Helping Hand. So,
yeah.
A couple different aspects there. And then the last one we're rounding out the team with this week is Shuckle. I have been diligently working on Shuckle since I lost to it in Collinsville. So we're sturdy with leftovers, and we're going to Toxic Stall Kyle. We're going to make his life miserable. So we have Toxic, Protect, Knock Off, and Power Split. His only real physical sweepers are Rhyperior and Barrascuda. So if we can power split one of them, Shuckle gets way more appealing, and those get way less appealing. We also have Sturdy. So like we are max defense. We are max defense, max special defense, 4 HP. We're Impish. I believe it's Impish, where it's plus defense minus special attack. And then we are going to knock off some life orbs, going to knock off some vests, and we're going to toxic stall people. I don't think Kyle actually listens to the podcast, so he probably won't hear this before we play, but I am really, really excited to make his life miserable with Shuckle.
Yeah.
I was originally going to do power trick stuff with Trick Room, and then I kind of talked myself out of it because it takes a lot of setup. Like, you need to power trick, you need to have Trick Room active, you need to protect for a turn, and then Shuckle, with his base speed of 5, finally starts to do things where he can maybe Oko something. I don't know. It's Shuckle. who has done damage calcs with Shuckle with a power trick up?
Probably like 3% of people.
3% of Shuckle players. Let's narrow that down even more. I was originally going to have Rocky Helmet on Shuckle, but I think Leftovers is probably just better, especially if we're trying to toxic stall people. Mm-hmm. Overall, I'm pretty happy where this has ended up. Just need to finish getting it in game. I have a shiny Shuckle that I picked up in a raid, so I need to get it done. I'm pretty sure it's 6 IV, so if not, it'll have to get hyper trained, and I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah, it'll be fine. You got keys.
It's whatever. I actually don't think I do, because I got a shiny T-Tar this week too. So that one was only 5 IV, so I had to hyper train it. So I am desperately low on candies right now. Oh no, it needs hyper trained.
Oh no.
I might have to talk Kyle into let me have some candies. So yeah, I got a interesting matchup coming up this week on Draft League. Make sure you stick around and watch it as well. It'll be out sometime this week, probably later in the week. I know, Carl, you said you're on bye this week, but that doesn't mean you're getting out of doing content this week. What are you doing this week?
Plan for this week, since I am officially laid off from work until April 20th, is we're going to work on the egg lock. I'm going to start that up probably tomorrow, pending cleaning, working, schedule, small things here and there I've got lined up for extra income. Might do some competitive stuff. I haven't really been in the mood to play competitive since most of the events got canceled.
By most, you mean all?
Yeah.
There's
online events still going on, but
I'm assuming the MSS this weekend got canceled, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There's no events anywhere being played anymore. All play Pokemon events have been canceled for the foreseeable future until I think end of May or June sometime. That being said, there are third-party tournament organizers that are hosting online events. I know Victory Road had a 300-plus player event started Saturday. Day 2 is Sunday, which is the day we're recording. We'll probably talk about its results on next week's episode. And they had enough to go top 32. So there's a lot of data there that they have recorded. Which I'm excited to talk about. Outside of that, probably going to start streaming more. Twitch.tv/musical. You can come watch me goof around on this egg lock that I have no idea what the heck I'm doing. I played through Sword and Shield once, and I flew through the story so I could get ready for competitive. So I actually have, zero idea on what the actual story is.
Oh, Carl.
I didn't care. I was just like, I need to get ready for competitive, so I burned through the story as fast as possible. I had like a level 80 Inteleon by the time I was done, and yeah. So we're gonna get to go through the story and try not to die and lose all my Pokemon in this egg lock. But that should start Monday. Probably Monday afternoon, probably about 3 o'clock our time. Maybe a little bit later, depending on if I'm doing stuff for work or not, getting deep cleaning done, because we're going to be closed for a month, and that's the last thing we need is any kind of pests to get in and find the food.
Oh, for sure. So as we're sitting here, I just got a notification that Kyle is now following us on Twitter. So I think he might be listening in and trying to plan his draft team against mine. Anything you want to hit on the way out the door today, man?
I know most people are probably sitting in quarantine right now, or at least in self-quarantine, social distancing, whatever you want to call it.
Wash your hands.
Enjoy your content creators. Please appreciate them. They appreciate you coming and hanging out with them. They know that they're trying to help brighten your day and help you out a little bit, de-stress, because as a person, I stress out a lot about little things that I have no control over.
Yeah.
I'm real bad about that, and I have been watching a lot of A-Drive. I've been watching a lot of Jeff Hoogland. I've been watching a lot of just like videos and streams. Thank God the LCS has started back up.
Mm-hmm.
I was lost last week when they canceled it. I didn't know what the heck to do with my weekend, and they started back up this week, and they're playing from home, so I got to watch all of that yesterday while I was making dinner, which that helped a ton. But we'll get through this. Appreciate your content creators. I know we're not really asking for anything. This is not an ask for a handout or anything like that. But there's other people who need it. Go support them. Make sure you share the love. We'll get through it all together.
Yep. One day at a time. That's all we can do.
Yep. I don't have anything else other than that. Just a little good pick-me-up for the day.
Well, I think then on our way out, since I haven't done it in about an hour, make sure you join the Discord server. We have that. It's awesome. Our people are great. Our newcomers on there are fantastic. I'm really glad that we have a good community growing there. It's also where you submit Team of the Week submissions, so make sure you get that if you want to have your team featured on the show. That's the way to do it. Make sure, for those of you who are on YouTube, you hit that subscribe button. You hit the bell icon so you get notifications when new videos go live. For those of you not on YouTube, make sure you go follow our YouTube channel. That link is also going to be down in the show notes. Past that, you can find us on Twitter at LR Lessons, myself at Cardinoble25, and Carl at musical_33. We have an email down in the show notes as well, so for questions, comments, concerns, it can be sent that way as well. Past that, I think I've hit everything. I don't think I'm missing anything. I think we'll be back.
That's it. Yeah, we'll be back. There's no thinking we'll be back. We will be back.
We will be back next week with Victory Road stuff, and probably talking about some more Draft League stuff, and figure it out from there.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me. See y'all then. Peace.